Hey, my name is Ben McCullough, and my topic project is on the effects of oil pollution on marine life. I chose this topic because I know how harmful oil pollution can be, from ships, from dumping pollutions, and from oil spills. It's important to understand how this affects marine life, to know how to prevent and stop more oil pollution. Oil does not break down well in water, and it doesn't mix very well with water. This causes a film of oil on top of the water. The chemical constituents of oil are poisonous to marine life, and they can cause skin irritation, they can smother marine organisms, they can affect a mammal's ability to maintain their proper body temperature, and they can have many other harmful consequences. This first picture shows how oil is less dense than water and floats. The second picture is a bird's eye view of petroleum floating on top of the ocean. One major cause of oil pollution is from oil spills. An oil spill happens often because it's difficult to get the oil out of the ground, and much of the oil is transported by ships. Oil spills can happen when ships collide, when pipelines break, when a storage tank leaks, or when an oil rig is damaged or when it explodes. Oil spills started becoming a problem for the oceanic environment in the 1960s because supertankers became capable of transporting large amounts of oil, and also because of the exploration and drilling of new oil wells. Large gas-powered ships also became popular, causing even more oil pollution. Ships have a space on the bottom called a bilge. This is designed to catch extra water and oil so that the oil can be separated and unloaded when they reach the shore. The problem with this is that ships still dump a large portion of the oil back into the water. And in this slide, we can see a ship leaking oil into the South Pacific Ocean, and the other picture is an example of where a bilge system is located on a ship. One of the most devastating oil spills was the Gulf War oil spill. Up to 1.5 million tons of oil was spilled, and it reached 101 miles by 42 miles, and was 5 inches thick. Another well-known oil spill was the Exxon Valdez oil spill, which was the worst oil spill in the United States history until the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. It spilled 11 million gallons of oil into the water and devastated the marine wildlife. The only good things that came out of the Exxon Valdez oil spill was the awareness for ships to have two hulls, and this minimized the loss of oil in case an accident happened, and it also created awareness for better and faster response teams and more modern technology to be able to clean the ocean as fast as possible. And this is a picture of the Exxon Valdez ship during the oil spill. Another well-known oil spill is the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. It was caused from an explosion on the oil rig that allowed oil to escape into the ocean. The oil spill was especially bad because it took them 87 days to stop the flow of oil. And these are some of the most well-known oil spills, but there's been plenty more oil spills that have occurred. And this slide shows a picture of the Deepwater Horizon oil rig explosion. Since there are so many oil spills, there have been many studies and developments on how it affects marine life and how to help it recover. One of the best ways to protect marine life is to prevent damage from ever occurring and to clean up the petroleum quickly. Scientists have invented many ways to make this happen. One of them is by using oil booms. An oil boom is like a floating fence, and it helps to keep the oil contained and from spreading. When cleaning up the petroleum, they'll use skimmers. and these are machines that suck up oil from the surface of the water. And when the oil cannot be contained, they will use dispersants like Corexit 9500. These chemicals can be sprayed on top of the oil, and they aid in the natural breakdown of oil components. When scientists studied the effects that oil pollution had on marine life, they found many devastating consequences. It affects mammals' ability to keep their internal body temperature by destroying their insulating ability. It strips birds' ability to keep their feathers waterproof, and sea turtles can get trapped in the oil. Dolphins and whales can inhale the oil, and this can cause lung damage. It can kill coral reefs, shellfish, and fish. And if the fish happen to survive, then it can cause multiple issues like enlarged livers, fin erosion, and reproductive problems. Not only does oil pollution affect large marine life, but smaller organisms like phytoplankton can also be affected. One study showed that lipophilic oil compounds would start to accumulate in the cell membrane. This would cause the cell to lose permeability, and other irreversible damage to the cell surface also occurred from oil pollution. Photosynthetic plants and organisms can also be affected by the oil because it can block out light. Oil spills can also cause long-term effects like reducing marine species populations, which can take years to recover. Other areas that are less thought of can be affected long-term as well, like the salt marshes and mangrove swamps, which can be affected by oil spills for decades. Oil spills can be detrimental to coral populations. Floating oil can reach coral reefs during low tides when the ocean mixes with the water, or it can also reach them when it gets mixed with sediment and sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Oil pollution has many effects on coral populations. It can delay their growth, reproduction, and alter their behavior. Because of oil pollution and oil spills, there is about 1.3 million gallons of petroleum spilled into the U.S. waters and 6 million metric tons spilled into the ocean each year. And surprisingly, only 12% of the oil in the ocean is from oil spills, and the rest comes from dumping, from drains, and from ships traveling. And here's a graph that shows some of the world's largest oil spills that have occurred in history. Another study that they did shows how oil spills affect birds. During oil spills, many birds will get trapped in the oil and taken to be cleaned. Once they are cleaned and released into the wild, their survivability rate dramatically decreases. And if they do manage to survive, they will most likely never mate again, which is most likely due to them just being generally unhealthy the rest of their life. In fact, the survival rate for birds that have been cleaned from oil and released back into the wild is thought to be less than 1%. It can also be very costly to recover animals from oil spills. It's estimated that sea otters can cost $5,000 per otter to clean and rehabilitate, and $750 per marine bird. The process they use to rehabilitate an oil-covered animal is started by rescuing them from the oil, and then they're given a physical exam, and then they're fed, watered, and kept warm for 48 hours. After that, they clean all the oil off of them, and then they're moved to a more natural enclosure where they're kept for 3 days to several months. And this slide is a good example of marine animals that have become trapped in the oil spill. One interesting fact given by some scientists said that cleaning up oil spills can cause more harm than good, and that cleaning up oil can be ineffective because of the lack of technology. Many of the technologies that we use to clean oil might not be as effective as we thought, and other techniques that we use may have negative consequences. When you use booms to control the oil, they will not work in icy water or in large waves. If you burn the oil to control it, it will cause air pollution. And when you use dispersants, they do not always work. And the dispersant Corexit is actually banned in several countries because it rarely works and it kills oil-eating bacteria. When an oil spill does occur, they often only expect 15% of the oil to be recovered, and the rest gets dispersed into the ocean and on the beaches. Scientists are still doing a ton of research on the effects of oil pollution and how to better prevent and control it. Some of these include testing how toxic the oil can be to different marine organisms. They also study the effectiveness and toxicity of dispersants. They are also incorporating more modern technology, like sensors underwater to detect oil, and for satellites to help guide cleanup operations. And I think that future research for oil cleanup is definitely headed in the right direction. More people are becoming aware of the dangers of oil pollution and that all the harmful things that it causes. And I think that advances in technology to clean up oil in the ocean is very important. But I also think that preventing the oil from ever entering the ocean is just as important. Since ships and oil dump a large portion of oil into the ocean, I think that more research needs to be done on altering energy sources to power marine vessels. And I also think that research should be done to help wildlife recover from the oil, especially in birds, since their survival rate is so low. Understanding the effects of oil pollution on marine life is very important to the survival of many aquatic species. When we understand the effects it has on marine life, we can know how to help and prevent the aquatic organisms from any more harm from oil pollution. Much more research is needed on how to recover oil spills more efficiently and in preventing them altogether. With people becoming more aware of the dangerous effects of oil pollution, it gives the opportunity for so much more improvements in protecting marine life from oil pollution. And that is the end of my research project. And the next couple of slides are my citations of where I got my information from for my project. Thank you.